What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. My name is Dusty, one half of Outright Gaming, and this is your beginner's guide for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. My very first tip is to save often. This game is absolutely massive. And by massive, I mean like 100 to 150 plus hours massive. With that much gameplay on the line, you want to be sure to save all the time. This game has a total of 5 save slots. There is an autosave, a quick save, and then 3 manual save slots. I let the game autosave, obviously, and then I also quick save from the menu. Just click Y and it's saved. Then I go into the settings and save the game manually in the first save slot. I am overly cautious. Also, one thing that helps me a ton in this game is adjusting my camera, and maybe it's because I've played a ton of Final Fantasy 14, I don't know, but to me, I love playing with the camera zoomed out. It's pretty simple to do. Just hold ZL and move your right stick to adjust how far you want it to go. Now, for some reason, the camera angle doesn't stick there, at least that I found how to do, so you'll have to do it every so often. This one actually doesn't bother me as much as I've seen that it bothers some people, but you can actually turn off all of the numbers that pop up as you're battling. A lot of people say it makes the HUD look super cluttered. As for me, I actually enjoy seeing how much damage I do, how much damage the enemies do, and how much I'm getting healed. But for some people, this is really distracting, and I totally get it. If it bothers you, you can go into your settings and turn it off. You can actually turn off a lot of numbers, and it looks pretty clean when you do turn it off, although I do leave mine on just because I like it. And if you've played this game any at all, you've probably noticed there are items laying everywhere. And I mean literally everywhere. So, yeah, you want to get as many of those as humanly possible. There are different item rarities: common, which is white; rare, which is yellow; and then legendary, which is purple. Go out of your way to plunder the containers as well, as you will get more rare items from these. These items can be used later on in the game, and it's just best to try and have them in your inventory so you don't have to go searching for them when you need them on a side quest or something. One of the items that you'll get sometimes is Nopon coins, and Nopon coins are extremely useful. They can be used for upgrading classes, completing certain quests, and more. There are silver and gold Nopon coins, so be sure to be on the lookout for those. There are also sell-only items that can only literally be sold. That's their only purpose, is to make you money lying around, so be sure to get those and sell those when you can. Later on in the game, when you pick those up, the game actually just gives you money for them. You automatically sell them, so that's super useful. And if you're exploring the map anyway, you're probably getting these items, and that is my next tip, is to explore the map as much as you can. Well, this game is sort of linear with a hint of open world. It does pay to explore the map. This will help you find different enemies, items, and just help you level up your characters. I recommend using your mini map and expanding it by clicking your right thumbstick in. And you can also open your area map by holding ZL and clicking it from here. This actually shows you where a ton of stuff is on the map, like containers, husks, side quests. A lot of things are on this map for you. You can also go into the pause menu and select map. You can skip travel to a lot of other areas whenever you go into this map, like previous areas that you have been to. And while you're exploring, be sure to be on the lookout for the question marks on the map or any suspicious enemies. These question marks can actually lead to some very helpful side quests, like helping you recruit heroes, which you will find out as you progress through the game. I will not spoil that for you. And while you're exploring the map, if you find yourself getting lost and you want to get to your next quest line a lot faster, if you hold Z out and click Y, it'll actually pop up a little line on the map that you follow that will help you get to your next quest line as fast as possible. You can also see more options that it gives you in this menu, like area map, quest, etc. You can actually customize these settings of what shortcuts you have on this menu by holding ZL and clicking plus. Maybe you could put a save icon on there so you don't forget to save. So if you've never played a game like this, odds are the battle system is super confusing, and rightfully so that you are confused, because this battle system is super in-depth. And it only keeps getting more in-depth the more that you play. Maybe the biggest difference to this game and the Xenoblade Chronicles series is the auto attacks that happen without you doing anything. If you draw your weapon on an enemy and just stand near it, your character will do a series of attacks without you doing anything at all. You can see if you're in range to do this by the little sword icon on the bottom right above your arts. And speaking of these are called arts. These are the attacks in the diamond that you will hit when they pop up colored in orange. I will expand on these more later. First, I want to cover some ground on some of these terms that you will see when battling in this game. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, as well as other Xenoblade Chronicles games, takes inspiration for their battle systems from MMOs like Final Fantasy 14. In this battle style, there are what's called attacker, defender, and healer. You may have heard these terms before: tank, DPS, or damage per second, and healer in other MMOs and what have you. These are indicated by the red, blue, and green icons on the character in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Red is attacker, blue is defender, and green is healer. Now, there are different classes inside of these roles. For example, Noah is a sword fighter, but his role is attacker. Mio is a Zephyr, but her role is defender. This is basically just the weapon style she uses, but Noah's still an attacker and Mio's still a defender nonetheless. You will unlock more classes as the game progresses, but I will save the spoil for that later as it goes super in depth. Your defender, otherwise known as tank in other games, is the character who has the most HP and can handle the biggest hits. This is Lance at the beginning of the game. He has the big sword, massive HP compared to the other party members, and better defense. Your attacker, or DPS in other games, is Noah at the beginning of the game. This character has super awesome attack, as the name would suggest, lower health, and sometimes requires different positions on the battlefield. I will also explain more on that later. Your healer is Uni at the beginning of the game. This one is the most self-explanatory. She is a character who heals all the party members as they can't heal themselves. Notably, these healers have significantly lower health, not that good of defense, and really can't attack all that well either. Unfortunately enough for them, they will most of the time draw the most aggro. And if you're wondering what aggro means, I'll go ahead and explain that as well. Aggro simply means a character that the enemy is targeting. It's kind of like an invisible list where the enemy's like, okay, this is my #1 priority. I have to go after this one. And for this reason, the enemy usually goes after the character that is dealing the most damage or is offering some big heals. So you can see our problem here. Attackers give big damage, healers give big heals, but our defenders are the ones that have the most health. In a very short explanation, this is why defenders have moves that actually help them draw aggro. Your goal is for your defender to keep aggro at all times so the healer can focus on healing him while the attacker does massive damage without getting hit. Now the defender and healer can also do damage as well, and it's not like the attacker and healer will never get hit. But this is the main goal, is to keep the aggro on your defender. This is demonstrated by a blue line from the enemy to the defender if it is aggroing them, and a red line if the enemy is aggroing someone other than a defender. And let me just say, this will not always work out perfectly, but this is what you should be striving for, and this is the basis of battling in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. One thing that you should also get used to in this game that was kind of confusing me at first is canceling attacks, because whenever I hear the word canceling attacks, I'm thinking, okay, I'm stopping them from attacking, but that's not what it means at all. Basically what this means is to let your character do the first auto attack, then click your art. This is where those arts come into play. These go super in depth, but just know that these are better than auto attacking. If you do this correctly, you'll see a purple slash and a purple circle pop up in the screen to identify that you've done this correctly. This simply is what canceling means. You can also cancel arts into other arts. This is vital when playing an Agnian character, as this is how you fill up their talent art gauge. Basically what a talent art is just a super strong art. It's kind of like a special move for your character, and it is located on the A button of your controller. Also, some of these arts, like for Noah, are also stronger whenever you use this canceling method for attacks. So not only is it good for using on only Agnian characters, but it's also good to use for every single character in the game, especially just to get used to it. Another term you'll hear often in this game is AoE. Basically, simply what AoE means is area of effect. Now this is super important because AoE can happen both for or against you. For example, the healers have heals that are AoE. This means it only goes so far in a circle around them. So if you're playing as an attacker who has low health, but you're standing on the complete opposite side of the healer, if they cast a heal move, you still won't get healed. You'll also notice some circles on the floor with the words evasiveness up or attacker up that some of these healers can cast. These are also AoEs. If you're standing inside of these circles, you will get these buffs. Buffs are simply just something that is added to your character. There are also debuffs like poison, bleed, etc. that your enemy can put on you. And that is how you can have AoEs against you, as some of these enemies will have AoEs that they'll cast that you need to try to avoid. And to go more in depth on these arts, positioning is super vital for some of these attackers in battle. These AoEs are really a big issue for attackers, as they often have to be positioned on the enemy for certain arts. For example, as Noah as a sword fighter, to inflict break on an enemy, he has to be standing on the side of the enemy. So your position on the enemy for some characters in this game does matter. And for one attack he has to be standing behind an enemy to get max damage. So just keep all this in mind as you are battling. There is an arrow to indicate where you are on the enemy. For example, it will point to the left or right when you're on the side, to the bottom when you're behind, and to the top when you're in front. You'll have to get used to paying attention to the screen, as a lot is really going on in this game at one time. And remember before how I said that you could break on an enemy and you had to stand on the side of that enemy to do so? Basically what this means is you will cast break, and then defenders have the option to follow that up with topple. What that does is basically makes your enemy fall down to where he can't attack you, and you get better attacks in. So one tip I have is to start the battle out with a break attack, so you can topple the enemy immediately. This makes it so that the enemy literally won't even attack you when it's toppled, and if you're high enough level, odds are you can get the whole enemy beaten before it even attacks you one time. And if you're having trouble with the camera and doing all of this positioning at the same time, you can hold ZL and right stick click on the enemy. This way you can move around the enemy by just going left and right, and it may help you depending on how your playstyle is. Definitely try it out and see which way you like positioning better. And in the light of positioning in this game, it's good to practice quick move. By clicking your right thumbstick in in battle, you can also dash to another area as your character sheaths their weapon. You can use this if you're playing a character like Noah who has to use positionals, so you can get to those positions faster when your arts are filled up. Or if you're playing as healer and someone gets injured, you can use this to get there faster. This is also why it's important to get used to switching characters when that option becomes available to you in the game. That way, if you see someone that's injured but you're actually playing as Noah, you can switch to the healer, run over there real quick, heal them, and then go back to Noah and do your thing. And really the only way to get used to switching between these characters is to practice. And if all of this just seems absolutely overwhelming, you're like, Dusty, what in the heck did you just explain? You can switch the game to easy mode. If you didn't do this at the beginning of the game, you can actually go into your settings and you can go into the main menu, hit systems, hit options, click game, and then go to the difficulty to change it. If you're finding that the game is too easy, you could actually switch it to hard as well, or to normal if you switched it on easy at the beginning. And another thing that could help you if you're feeling overwhelmed is you can allow your character to auto attack. And I don't mean just auto attack as they like hit their sword without you clicking any arts. I mean you can click minus on your controller and they will auto attack and do all these things for you so you can watch and see what they're doing. This can help you learn different combos and how battle works in general. It can't be used in certain battles, so be sure you know what you're doing and don't rely on this too much. And if you're still feeling overwhelmed, you can always go into training mode. That way you can learn stuff at your own pace. And speaking of overwhelming, having 6 party members in total is kind of overwhelming at times. What's cool about Xenoblade Chronicles 3 though is that you can actually auto-equip your characters with the best. Go to the character menu and press Y, and then the selected character will automatically be equipped with the best arts, the best skills, the best gems, and the best accessories. And it's also important to remember to keep your party balanced. As tempting as it can be to make every single party member an attacker so you can get through these battles super fast, it's probably in your best interest to keep your party balanced, having 2 defenders, 2 healers, and 2 attackers. Later on, once you get more comfortable with the game, you can mess around with this a little more if you want like 3 defenders or 3 healers or 3 attackers, as opposed to the 2 defenders, 2 attackers, and 2 healers. That is totally up to you. That is what's so awesome about this game, is you can create your own playstyle. And as you grind through this game, know that there are different enemies that you can fight. Normal, elite, unique, and lucky. Normal, which has no logo beside their name, doesn't require as much strategy as long as you're on a similar level. They're pretty much what you see is what you get. The elite enemies have blue flames beside of their name and are a little more challenging no matter if you are kind of the same level as them. Then the unique or the orange flame enemies are incredibly strong even whenever you are the same level and will require some strategy to beat. Lucky enemies are the sparkling ones you'll see on the battlefield, and they're the same strength as normal monsters but will give better rewards. And if you find that attacking an enemy is too hard and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die, you can actually hold the A button to sheath your weapon and run away, and you will stop the battle. You can also hold the minus button to restart the battle or return to the nearest landmark. And one cool thing about the unique enemies in this game in particular is that when you beat them, they will leave a grave behind them. This is useful because they usually give a ton of experience. So you can just refight them, grind some levels out faster than usual, and also these graves can be fast travel points. I love this. I've actually utilized this a ton in this game. And maybe my favorite part as far as grinding goes in this game is that you can level up at rest spots. You'll earn some extra XP while you're battling monsters, completing side quests, or discovering landmarks and going through the game as a whole. When you rest at a camp area, you can click level up and use these experience points to level up a whole level, as long as you have enough extra experience, obviously. And later on, you'll have the ability to cook at the campsite, which will help you gain extra experience for a certain amount of time or give you extra gold or whatever you want to have as far as the buffs for these meals go. And one thing the game really doesn't mention is that to learn new recipes, you need to eat at canteens at colonies. And my absolute very last tip is to just have fun with this game. The more that you play, the more that you will get better. It is super overwhelming at first. I totally understand. If you've never played a battle system like this, it can be daunting. But I promise the more that you play this game is super, super fun. And the battle system really makes this game what it is. And it's so cool to battle and just it's so satisfying to beat your enemies once you learn how to do it all. So be sure to learn as much as you can as you play, keep practicing, and be sure to subscribe to this channel as I'll be making more Xenoblade Chronicles 3 content. Thank you guys so much for watching. Everyone have an amazing day and God bless.